Good morning. We're going to do a little history lesson today, starting a new chapter. You will have just learned about Caesar Augustus, doing some reading and note-taking on some of the wonderful things that he did for Rome. And today we're going to look at some of those specific advancements he made for the Roman Empire. Do you remember some of the specific things that he did? The first fire department, postal service, police department. We also learned he built these roads all the way across the Roman Empire. Why did he do that? He wanted to connect Rome with all of its provinces. So we're going to look especially at those roads today and the way that they made really great bridges and aqueducts, which were mentioned in the last chapter just briefly. And that is something that even today we're really using sort of that as an inspiration for the way that we have our plumbing systems. So let's take a look at that today. And I'm going to be reading from the book that you could read from in Bright Thinker. So in your history folder, right, just a moment, let me find it. In the history folder of Bright Thinker, you've got the Ancient Rome Reader, and when you click this link, it takes you to the reader. And if you're finished watching this video and you still have some things that you had questions about, you are always welcome to go back and see parts of the book in Bright Thinker that way. So we're reading Chapter 9, Roman Lands today. Oh, actually, I was getting that confused a little bit with roads, bridges, and aqueducts. We're going to be looking at that next week more. Okay, so Roman lands, let's skip down past Caesar Augustus. Here we go. Okay, now the Roman world. Once it was very easy to see all of the Roman world from one spot. In 750 BCE, all you had to do was climb a hill near the Tiber River. From that place, you could see a few farms, fishermen's huts, and small clusters of houses. That was all there was to Rome at that point in history. In time, the Roman world grew. As you know from reading earlier chapters, the Romans were very good at conquering other lands. Especially Julius Caesar was good at that. With his reign alone, the land expanded to become what really was going to become the empire later on. The Romans expected conquered people to work hard and send taxes to Rome. Eventually, the Roman world grew so large that the only way to see the entire empire would have been to look down from space. Of course, there was no way to do that in Roman times. Instead, the Romans used maps to show all the lands they ruled. These lands were located on 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. So the Roman Empire started in the country of Italy, which is in Europe, but they have the northern part of Africa that they started conquering and parts of Asia as well. Here is what that looks like. Here's the Roman Empire. So this is where the city of Rome is located and still is located today. Now all of this that is green at one point was part of the empire. So this is basically the entire continent of Europe that they had under their charge. Also, here's Carthage. Remember, Rome fought Carthage in the Punic Wars hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago for us, hundreds of years ago at the time that we're learning of history with Caesar Augustus. And all along the coast of North Africa, the entire coast of North Africa almost, including Egypt. We've been hearing about that with Cleopatra. And this is now the country of Turkey. And we've got parts of Syria as well that they've conquered. So all of this is part of Asia, part of Africa, and almost the entire continent of Europe is part of the Roman Empire at this time that we're reading. Now, Italy and the Mediterranean. This is the Mediterranean Sea that all of the land that the Roman Empire had was surrounding. They were able to travel a lot by sea and capture a lot of the land that is right along the coast. Like it's just basically everything that touches the Mediterranean Sea is their land. The city of Rome, it says, is located on the Italian peninsula. Do you see it? Right there. There's the Italian peninsula. There's Rome. If you can't find the Italian peninsula, look for the piece of land that looks like a boot. Do you see the toe and the high heel? The words Italian peninsula are kind of covering it up, but the country of Italy does kind of look like a boot, with this being the toe and this being the heel. And some people think of it as like kicking a soccer ball with the island at the toe of the boot. Now, the Italian peninsula is part of the continent of Europe. Between the Italian peninsula and the rest of Europe are the Alps. Now, the Alps are a high snow-covered mountain range. We heard about it with Hannibal. Hannibal and his elephants crossed the Alps during the Second Punic War. This is what the Alps are, the little brown dots, that's their way of showing a mountain range. So that separates Rome from what was called Gaul and is now France, and also from Spain, although there's another mountain range called the Pyrenees. But, excuse me. Okay. Now, the Italian peninsula sticks out into the Mediterranean Sea. Once the Romans controlled the Italian peninsula, they conquered islands and coastal areas around the Mediterranean. After a while, the Romans controlled the whole Mediterranean region. They called the Mediterranean our sea. And it's fair for them to call it that because they had all of the land around it. Now, Greece and the Balkans. The Adriatic Sea is northeast of the Italian peninsula. Let's look at that Adriatic Sea. Right here. So that's east of the Italian peninsula. And you've learned about Greece in second grade if you were here at our school. So there's Greece that also is bordered by the Adriatic Sea. Across the Adriatic Sea is Greece. As you know, ancient Greece was very important to the Romans. The Romans liked Greek ideas about education, art, building, and government. They used these ideas in Rome. They also brought these ideas to their provinces. Now, east of Greece is the Aegean Sea. Let's look for the Aegean Sea. Do you see it? Right here. So that is the Aegean Sea. Oops, sorry. Can you say Aegean? Very unusual word, but we say Aegean. It is connected to another large body of water, the Black Sea. These two seas are connected by a narrow waterway, or what's called a strait. Looks very similar to like a straight line. This word is a homophone because it means something different and is spelled differently, even though it sounds like a straight line. This type of strait is a narrow body of water that connects two larger bodies of water. This strait is called Bosphorus. It separates Europe from Asia Minor. So the Bosphorus Strait is right here, connecting the Aegean Sea and the Black Sea. This separates also Asia Minor from Europe, because the land of Asia and Europe is connected in most places. And so there's this as more of a clear line to separate the two continents. Now, Constantinople is on the tip of the peninsula called Asia Minor. Today, the peninsula is home to the nation of Turkey. 2,000 years ago, Asia Minor was part of the Roman Empire. It is from this place that Julius Caesar sent his famous Veni Vidi Vici message. Do you remember what that means in English? I came, I saw, I conquered. Veni Vidi Vici. So here is Asia Minor. Constantinople is right here. We're going to hear a lot more about this. This is going to be significant later in the Roman Empire's history. So this is where Julius Caesar came in and conquered and said that famous line. I'm speaking a lot today. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's Asia, and let's take a look at Africa next. Now, the Romans also controlled Mesopotamia and the kingdom of Egypt. Now, Egypt was the home of Cleopatra. We've heard quite a bit about her. It was also one of the richest of Rome's provinces. It had ports on the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. It also had rich lands along the Nile River. Now, the Romans had provinces along the North African coast too. Carthage controlled some of that coastline until the end of the Third Punic War, and then Rome gained control of all of that land. So it wasn't multiple wars that they had to win to get all of that land along the coast. The Punic Wars had them take over all of this that Carthage was under control of. So as soon as they beat Carthage in the Third Punic War, they took over control of this entire coastline that Carthage had. And then here's Egypt, the Nile River here, and the Red Sea, which is down here. Or maybe I'm confused with, let's see, Red Sea actually should be, sorry, I'm having a hard time placing it, whether it's here or here. But here's Mesopotamia. I think that you learned about Mesopotamia more in kindergarten and first grade as one of the earliest civilizations that was really significant in the world, according to the history that we have. So, back to Europe now. At the western end of the North African coastline is the Strait of Gibraltar. This strait connects the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. Spain is north of Gibraltar on the continent of Europe. The Romans conquered Spain. Then Julius Caesar conquered the large area to the north. The Romans called this area Gaul. Today, we call this area France. Okay, so looking for the Strait of Gibraltar. Right here, connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. Remember, a strait connects two larger bodies of water. So below it is Africa, and above it, Spain, which connects to what is now France, but was Gaul. So all of this was the Romans as well. And over here is Mesopotamia. So once again, very famous civilization that you learned about before with the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. It was a very fertile region, so they could have wonderful, or a lot of rich plants and good soil. And so that really helped Mesopotamia grow to be a really thriving culture. So the Romans also had an island province north of Europe. They called this province Britannia. Today, this land is called, or is part of Great Britain. So up here is Britannia, or Great Britain, or England. So this was also part of their empire. They didn't have all of Great Britain, but they did have this part of it. We're going to find out quite a bit more about that region when we start learning about Vikings in our next unit. Okay, now, to control such a large empire, Roman officials needed a way to travel easily. To do this, they built roads. These roads were paved with smooth slabs of stone. The Roman army could travel quickly over the paving stones to get where it was needed. The Roman Empire had more than 50,000 miles of roads. That is very significant because it was pretty unusual for a lot of places to have good paved roads that could withstand lots and lots of use. But the Romans needed to have their armies be able to travel all around to these different provinces and all of these areas where their government was really in charge. So they needed to be able to get back and forth between all of these areas, even if it wasn't a wartime. Now, these roads connected every province of the empire to Rome itself. That is why the Romans said, all roads lead to Rome. Today, in areas of Asia, Africa, and Europe, some highways and railroad lines still follow the old routes of the ancient Roman roads. So this shows the Appian Way, the most famous road of ancient Rome, built in 312 BCE. Parts of the road are still used today. So for over 1,000 years, well, 312 BCE, so over 2,000 years, this road has still been around, at least in parts of it. And then in other parts, even if the old stones are not there, they've still used where the road would have been for new roads to connect parts of Europe. So really fascinating. Can you imagine going from this little part of Italy, just the city of Rome, and then starting to expand all of this region and having to be really clever about how to communicate well between these areas and really connect all of those areas well. Okay, I think that's the end. Yes, that is the end for today. So I will be posting some maps, and you can look back at this in Bright Thinker as well as often as needed to be able to better understand what we're going to be doing with the Roman land as we continue learning about that tomorrow as well. Hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.